Most people think they have a rough idea of how rich they are. They look at their salary, maybe their savings account, maybe the car in their driveway or the apartment they rent, and they form a quiet conclusion in their mind. I'm doing okay, or I'm behind, or I'm better off than most. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Almost everyone is measuring their wealth completely wrong. Because wealth is not what you see. It's not your paycheck, it's not your lifestyle, and it's definitely not what social media makes it believe it is. In fact, if you're earning a decent income, paying your bills on time, and still feeling like you're not getting ahead, you're not alone. And more importantly, you're not imagining things. Let's start with a simple scenario. Imagine two people. The first person earns $80,000 a year. They live in a nice apartment, drive a new car, take vacations twice a year, and regularly upgrade their phone, clothes, and lifestyle. From the outside, they look successful, stable, comfortable. The second person earns $50,000 a year. They live in a modest place, drive an older car, rarely travel, and are careful with their spending. Nothing about their lifestyle stands out. Now, if you had to guess who's richer, most people would immediately pick the first person. But here's what you don't see. The first person is living paycheck to paycheck. Their expenses rise every time their income increases. Their savings are minimal, and their debt is quietly growing in the background. The second person, on the other hand, saves consistently. They invest a portion of their income every month. They avoid unnecessary debt. And slowly, quietly, they're building something most people overlook: freedom. This is where the definition of wealth starts to shift. Wealth is not how much you earn, it's how long you can survive without earning. Let that sink in for a moment. If you lost your job today, how long could you maintain your current lifestyle? 1 month? 3 months? A year? This is the real measure of wealth. And for many people, the answer is uncomfortable. Because a high income can create the illusion of wealth, but it can also trap you in a cycle where your lifestyle becomes dependent on that income. The more you earn, the more you spend. And the more you spend, the more you need to keep earning. This is known as lifestyle inflation, and it's one of the biggest reasons people who look rich are often financially fragile. Now, think about this. Why do people upgrade their lifestyle the moment they get a raise? It's rarely because they need to, it's because of how money makes them feel. A higher income creates a sense of progress, and spending becomes a way to reward that progress. A better apartment feels like success. A new car feels like achievement. Dining out more often feels like you've made it. But over time, these upgrades stop feeling special. They become normal, expected, necessary. And suddenly, your comfortable life becomes your baseline, one that you can't easily step down from. This is where the psychological trap begins, because now your financial decisions are no longer driven by logic, they're driven by maintaining a certain identity. You're not just paying for a car, you're paying for the version of yourself that drives that car. You're not just renting an apartment, you're paying for the lifestyle that comes with that location. And slowly, without realizing it, you start building a life that looks impressive, but is incredibly expensive to sustain. Now, let's flip the perspective. What if real wealth had nothing to do with looking rich? What if real wealth was invisible? Think about people who quietly build assets over time. They don't chase every trend, they don't upgrade their lifestyle with every pay raise. They focus on one simple principle: keeping a gap between what they earn and what they spend. That gap is where wealth is created, because every dollar you don't spend is a dollar that can work for you instead of against you. And this is where the difference becomes dramatic over time. Someone earning $80,000 and saving nothing will always stay dependent on their next paycheck. Someone earning $50,000 and saving even 20% consistently is slowly buying back their time. At first, the difference is invisible. Both people go to work, both pay their bills, both live their lives. But 5 years later, 10 years later, the gap becomes impossible to ignore. One person is still trading time for money with no safety net. The other has options. And options are the true currency of wealth. The option to leave a toxic job, the option to take a break without panic, the option to say no. Most people never realize that this is what they actually want. Not a bigger house, not a more expensive car, but control over their time and decisions. And yet, they chase the visible symbols of wealth instead, because those symbols are easy to compare. It's easy to see someone's car, it's easy to see their clothes, their vacations, their lifestyle, but you can't see their bank account. You can't see their debt. You can't see the stress that comes from needing to maintain it all. This is why comparison is so dangerous when it comes to money, because you're comparing your reality to someone else's highlight reel without knowing the full picture. And in that comparison, many people feel behind even when they're actually doing better than they think. So, how rich are you really? If your definition is based on income or lifestyle, you might be misjudging your position completely. Because real wealth lives in the background, not the spotlight. It's in the habits you repeat daily, the choices you make quietly, the discipline no one sees. And most importantly, it's in the distance between your needs and your desires. Because the smaller that gap becomes, the less you need to feel satisfied. And the less you need, the richer you actually are. But this raises a deeper question. If wealth isn't about how much you earn or how much you spend, then what exactly should you measure? And more importantly, how do you know if you're truly moving forward or just running faster on the same treadmill? To answer that, we need to look at something most people avoid thinking about: their financial direction. Because movement doesn't always mean progress. You can be working harder, earning more, upgrading your lifestyle, and still be standing in the exact same place financially. Or worse, slowly drifting backward without realizing it. This is where a simple but powerful idea comes in. Your wealth is not just about how much money you have. It's about the direction your life is moving in. Are you becoming more dependent on your income or less? Every financial decision you make pushes you in one of these two directions. When you take on more fixed expenses, like a bigger apartment or a more expensive car, you increase the amount of money you must earn every month just to maintain your life. You tighten the loop. But when you save, invest, or reduce unnecessary spending, you loosen that loop. You create breathing room. And over time, that breathing room becomes freedom. This is why two people with the same income can end up in completely different financial realities. One builds a life that requires constant effort to sustain. The other builds a life that gradually requires less. Now here's where it gets even more interesting. Most people underestimate how small changes compound over time. Saving an extra $200 a month might not feel life-changing. It doesn't dramatically alter your lifestyle. It doesn't make you feel rich overnight. But over years, that small habit transforms into something much bigger. Because money that is saved can be invested, and money that is invested begins to grow. Not because of effort, but because of time. At first, the growth feels slow, almost invisible. But eventually, something shifts. Your money starts working harder than you do. And when that happens, the entire game changes. Because now your income is no longer tied only to your time. This is the moment when wealth begins to feel real. Not because you suddenly look richer, but because your dependence on work starts to decrease. And that brings us to another important truth. Being rich is not about having a high income. It's about having low dependence. Someone who earns $1 million a year but spends nearly all of it is highly dependent. They can't stop. They can't slow down. Their lifestyle demands constant input. But someone who has built enough assets to cover their basic needs has something far more powerful: stability. This is why many people who appear successful are actually under immense pressure. Their lives are expensive, their commitments are high, and their margin for error is small. One job loss, one economic shift, one unexpected expense, and everything becomes fragile. On the other hand, someone who has built even a modest financial cushion experiences life differently. They make decisions with less fear. They think long-term. They're not constantly reacting to immediate financial pressure. And this difference is not just financial, it's psychological. Because money doesn't just buy things. It buys peace of mind. It buys space to think clearly. It buys the ability to act instead of react. Now let's bring this back to you. If you want to understand how rich you really are, stop looking at your income for a moment. Instead, ask yourself a few honest questions. How much of your income do you actually keep? If your paycheck disappeared tomorrow, how long would you be okay? Are your expenses increasing faster than your savings? Are you building assets or just upgrading your lifestyle? These questions are uncomfortable, but they reveal something far more important than any salary number ever. They reveal your trajectory. And once you understand your trajectory, you can start to change it. Because the goal is not to impress others with how you live. The goal is to quietly build a life that gives you control. This doesn't mean you have to give up everything you enjoy. It means becoming intentional, spending on what truly matters to you and cutting back on what doesn't. Because not all expenses is equal. Some expenses genuinely improve your life, others simply fill a temporary emotional gap. Learning to tell the difference is one of the most valuable financial skills you can develop, and it's also what separates people who build wealth from those who stay stuck chasing it. There's another layer to this that often goes unnoticed: your environment. If you're surrounded by people who constantly upgrade their lifestyle, spend freely, and measure success through visible things, it becomes much harder to make different choices, because humans are wired to compare. You don't need a luxury car until everyone around you seems to have one. You don't need the latest phone until it becomes the norm in your circle. And slowly, your definition of normal shifts upward. This is why many people feel financially stretched even when their income grows, because their expectations grow faster. Breaking out of this cycle requires awareness. It requires stepping back and asking, is this something I truly want or something I feel pressured to want? That one question can save you thousands of dollars and years of financial stress. Now imagine a different path. Instead of chasing a higher lifestyle, you focus on increasing your gap. You earn more, but you don't immediately spend more. You invest the difference. You build assets quietly, without needing validation. At first, nothing about your life looks dramatically different, but internally, everything changes. You feel less pressure, less urgency, less fear. And over time, your options expand. You can take risks others can't. You can walk away when something isn't right. You can design your life instead of just reacting to it. This is what being rich actually feels like. Not flashy, not loud, not obvious, but steady, calm, controlled. And here's the surprising part. Many people who are already on this path don't realize how well they're doing, because they're comparing themselves to the wrong metrics. They see others spending more, traveling more, living more visibly, and assume they're behind, when in reality, they're ahead in the ways that matter most. So if you've ever felt like you're not doing enough, or not earning enough, or not moving fast enough, take a step back and look deeper. Look at your habits. Look at your direction. Look at the gap you're creating. Because the truth is, you might be far richer than you think, not because of what you have today, but because of where you're going. And in the long run, that direction matters more than any number on a paycheck ever will.